Hey everyone, welcome to what is essentially the pilot episode of a thing I call High Notes. Hopefully something that we can both begin and end on. What is this? This is essentially a creative workshop. We're going to be picking a theme or a mood, and we're going to build a musical idea around this theme or mood. Hopefully it can help us just within our own creative endeavors. So a little footnote here. There's no such thing as good or bad music here, okay? We are not going to say not good enough in this space as a phrase that we do not utter to ourselves. Instead, we're just going to focus on the fact that right now we are exactly where we need to be in this time. Also, I am not a Zen master of musical composition or in music in general. I am merely here acting in the same way that a fitness trainer acts, and that is ensuring that we get through these exercises in one piece. So, with that being said, today's theme. Spooky things. So I don't know about you, but I love me some spooky things. You will find no gluttonous or ravenous consumer of all things spook than myself, and audio is no different. So there are two things that I want us to think about as we're getting started here, and they are these concepts of inspiration and reference. And we'll get more into those things later, but for right now, real quick, inspiration, just when you hear the word spooky, what is it that comes to mind? It doesn't necessarily have to be music or any kind of audio or anything like that. It could just be like a movie that elicited some sort of spooky feeling from within. That could be anything. Something that we could draw inspiration from. And then there's reference. So in the same way that a visual artist uses a visual reference to help pinpoint what it is that they're trying to capture, I think that's a tool that we can incorporate as well. More or less just having a specific sound that we can reference and just, help highlight, what makes this spooky? What is it about this that's unsettling? So I have an idea of what each of these things are for me, so I'm going to hop over to the other side of the room and get a certain instrument and pedal that I have in mind as well. And we're going to hop over there with some editing magic, so 3, 2, 1. Alright, and hey, I'm wearing different clothes and it's a different day. That's weird. So I'm going to clue you in as to what I'm going to be using as my main source of inspiration. That's right, Metroid. Specifically the main title. There is just something that calls forth that feeling of isolation that you get when you first hear that song. So good. And as far as my reference goes, I'm going to be using beautiful. What I'm going to be looking for in my source of inspiration, the structure specifically. That could be anything from the repeated pedal notes that are played in the beginning, or we can even use a D minor sharp 5 chord. Just some kind of skeleton that we can put our own meat and organs on and call our own. For a reference, in case you don't know what that is a broken siren that's being tested. And my god, that is terrifying. Musically, it's descending chromatically, and I think we could totally use that. I want to call attention to the texture of the sound. There's a bit of reverb to it. It's far away, but not far enough for you to be able to ignore it. I also think we should take a page from psychology. There's the whole thing of the uncanny valley. And the unknown can be terrifying, but something that you kind of recognize, but also not at all really, is probably 10 times more terrifying. So I've been fiddling around a little bit, and I want to show you what I've got so far, and I'll walk you through it. So the first thing that I got going on in my pedal effects chain is this filter pedal, because I do not want my bass to sound like a bass. And one of the things about this filter in particular is you can get a kind of ring modulation on it, but it's not true ring modulation. So going back to the whole something not quite being one thing or the other and kind of indiscernible, that's exactly the effect I'm trying to capture with this filter pedal here. So moving on, we've just got that running into a delay pedal to give it not so much a reverb, but again, like kind of like a false reverb. It's kind of swishy swashy, echoey kind of texture more than just like a true reverb. Forgive me for using the camera microphone here, but I just wanted to show anyone who is interested in the production aspect of all of this how I have this mic'd up. I have a Shure SM57 here, and I don't know if you can tell with the light, maybe if I pan back, but I have it right dead center on where the speaker is on my cab. And I have an Audix D4. This is typically like a drum mic for like the lower register toms and stuff. And I have that in like this dark zone, just a little bit away from where the main speaker is. So that way I can get kind of like a bit of a blending between the two. And that's typically something that I do when I'm miking all of my instruments. It's a little trick I learned from Glenn Fricker. You should check out his YouTube channel if you ever get the chance. There's a lot of great tips and tricks. Alright, and I'll show you what I'm doing on the bass. Ah, my baby. When I was first doing this, I didn't really quite care what scale I was in. I just, again, going for that reference, I wanted to have that descending, like, starting on that E there, and then going to A, and then even just, like, keeping in mind, I think that could be, like, part of, like, a passing tone. So that descending line does a really great job of establishing mood, I feel. And then we get this whole, which definitely carries this foreboding mood to it, just on the lower end of the register. So after that, I have this major third with the 7. And then from there, just like in the Metroid theme, I got this minor chord with a flat 5. So I don't feel like we're quite there yet, though. I think we can add a few more things. And I'm not quite sure if we even want this to be like a song with like a verse and a chorus or anything like that, or if we want this to be ambient. But I'm keeping this open at this stage in the game. I, again, don't really care about this stuff, and neither should you. Okay, so now we have a rough idea of how we're going to integrate our reference into our music. And thanks to our source of inspiration, we'll have a kind of skeleton to mold this idea onto. And don't be worried about how things might be shaping up. We still have plenty of room for experimentation, and so we shouldn't get too caught up on what the end goal should be. So at this point, I just want to add some texture, and to do that, I'm just going to tap around on the pickup on my electric cello, and I'm going to run that through some effects pedals. What's going to be really key is that I want to use a reverb pedal. Keeping in mind that on the bass we had a digital delay faux reverb kind of thing going on, and so I want everything that I'm capturing to feel and sound like it's coming from the same geographical space, so to speak. So I'm going to mess around just a little bit, and we'll see if we find anything that's just really cool and sticks out. Now that I got a little bit of texture, I want to see if I can bow a couple of notes and see if I can get any kind of harmony going on. And I'm just going to mess around and experiment with a couple of things. And yeah, we'll see what we get. Okay, so that's probably just enough for us to work with. So now I'm going to hop on over to my computer and I'm going to edit some stuff and I'm going to just get weird with it. Why not? And now, the unveiling. Alright, well, that was fun. I hope everybody shares what they come up with. I mean, honestly, I'm dying to hear what spooky things that come out of your brain boxes. That's... It'll be a lot of fun just to check all that out. And I hope that nobody feels discouraged by whether or not they can record stuff. I mean, that's not what's important here. What's important is that we create something. And the fact that it's coming from you is the most important thing. It's your creation. Create something. Okay, and with that, I'm gonna call it a wrap. This has been fun, and hopefully you guys like this. If you do, maybe I'll keep doing it. That'll be cool. I had fun. I hope you did too. Dying to hear what you guys have come up with. Alright. Later, guys.